Hello and welcome to the biggest update of the Plants vs Zombies community DLC mod. Today we'll go over all the 10 new minigames, the 4 new challenges, the 20 new puzzles, the new versus mode 2.0, the new World 6 redesign, the new plants, the new zombies, the new items, quality of life changes and so much more. This update took over 5 months to release and I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. After a lot of community polls and dev meetings later, we're stoked to present to you Alright, first of all, let us begin with the new content first. By now, you'll already have noticed this new second main menu screen. This was made in order to make the start screen look less cluttered, and also to access the new content from. You'll be able to access the Sergeant Samson shop that is unfinished right now, but it will come pretty soon. A new challenger mode, a new mailbox, and the old credit screen. The mailbox of course will inform you of any new updates, while the challenger section will test your true skills of PvZ by having to complete very hard levels, like the no sunflower challenge or even the 1 column challenge. In the shop, you'll find a plethora of new items to buy, like the new shop exclusive plants, and you'll also see the newly reworked versus mode 2.5. Let us continue with the new World 6 rework. As usual, the game will ask you to skip to level 5-9, and since 5-9 is completely unchanged, I will just straight up skip to 5-10. 5-10 itself has a different selection of plants now, and the ridiculous spawn rate has been nerfed when playing in hard mode. This was mainly done due to us receiving a lot of feedback from you, the community, and we try to listen to you guys as much as we can. After defeating level 5-10, you will unlock a relatively new plant. Say hello to Poultroom, a mushroom/catapult hybrid plant made specifically for the Night Roof early game. This plant will replace Pepperpolt and was based off of the old and cancelled Battle for Suburbia mod made by Witchhack, where he added in a blueberry from PvZ Heroes, which had a pretty similar function to Poultroom. It will have twice the range of a mushroom, meaning 6 tiles, but only half the fire rate. This makes it have less DPS overall, especially against bundled up zombies, but you gain all the advantages that comes with the pulled plants archetype, meaning advantages versus Green Shield zombies, newspaper zombies, ladder zombies, snorkel zombies, as well as roof slope. Thank you Nonday for creating as well as animating this little adorable shroom. At the introduction of level 6-1, we can see a small quality of life change, that being the background changing colors mid-intro. This is to prepare the player to this world's gimmick, similar to how you can see the fog peeking out when entering the fog stage. Thank you Unnamed for creating this devlog dog for me to share to you guys. You'll also have noticed that Vampire Zombie is now replacing the old Ice Block Zombie. Vampire Zombie is a fast speed zombie that will lifesteal health from your plants while he's eating them. Naturally, he's also weak to garlics as well as sunlight, but more on that later. If you've played any of the newer versions of DLC, you'll also notice that he got buffed to have 30% more HP now, to make him more of a threat. Sadly, I don't know who drew Vampire Zombie's assets, as this wasn't properly documented at the time, but thank you Zoe Minecraft for animating him. Also, the Blood Moon effect overall is more pretty and fluent now, as you can see from the gameplay footage right here. In level 6-2, we've unlocked Loomshroom, a new 50 sunk cost plant with a slow recharge, which also belongs to the subtype of mushrooms as well as some producers. It will replace the old water pot in the stage, since it makes a lot more sense in this world, and it's also specifically designed to counter this world's gimmick, which is the Blood Moon, by eliminating all positive status effects from all the zombies in a Doomshroom area. The plant itself will disappear after a while, but to give this plant more uses outside of this world, we've decided to also grant every zombie that is within the radius of this plant the so-called Loom status effect. Once a zombie dies while being loomed, he will drop 15 sun, which will be especially helpful in those harsh night stages. Another cool interaction this plant has is against vampire zombies. Since vampires are naturally allergic to sunlight, he'll be stunned once he gains the loomed effect. Big thanks to A-Thing for drawing this beautiful new plant, and thank you Andreko for his beautiful animation. In stage 6-3, we unlock a new plant. Introducing to you the Mortarshroom. Mortarshroom is a fast recharge 75 cost mushroom that replaces Fireshroom in this world. And also don't worry, all of the removed plants will still be accessible through the shop. He's special in a sense that this plant can be planted anywhere on your roof. Yes, you've heard that right. This plant does not require any flower pots to be placed on. Similar to Poultroom, this plant also belongs in the catapult/mushroom archetype, but unlike Poultroom, his fire rate is 2 times slower while the damage is 5 times greater. He also splashes all zombies in a 1x one area, but the high damage, slow fire rate will create a lot of wasted potential damage in scenarios where, for example, hitting a zombie with 1 HP. In addition, he'll also gain a similar weakness to Shroom. As you can see, since he's a Mortarshroom, he'll only be able to target zombies that are far away from him, meaning he lacks the ability to hit any targets that are within a 2 tiles range in front of him. But unlike Shroom, this plant doesn't become useless once a zombie gets close. He'll just hit the zombies and prioritize the bag instead. Thank you A-Thing for the in-game assets, and thank you Andreko again for his beautiful animations. But we also face off a new zombie. Skeleton Zombie might be familiar to a few of you guys, thanks to the alpha version of Plants vs Zombies 3, or mods like PvZ Hybrids, or even fan games like PvZ Neighborhood Defense, which made him popular. This zombie will be replacing Giga Football Zombie in the adventure, and he's based around the Dry Bones character from Super Mario, meaning whenever the zombie dies, he will turn into a pile of bones and revive himself over time. In Super Mario, Dry Bones is able to revive himself infinitely many times, unless you use something like an ice flower to kill him. In PvZ 3, it was also able to infinitely revive itself, which used to be the most annoying thing for me to deal with. Let's just face it, in PvZ this ability obviously wouldn't work that great, so we've come up with a slightly different concept altogether. The base health of the zombie will always regenerate to full HP, but the pile bones itself, which will have a different tracker for their health, will also transition over to each revive. Meaning, if you've dealt 100 damage to the pile of bones, the next time the pile of bones spawns in again, will have 100 health less. This means that you'll be still rewarded for killing the zombie fast, while not creating these dumb scenarios where you get hard punished for not having a hard counter to the zombie. I'd like to give you this example for the game philosophy behind Screen No Shield Zombie versus the Shovel Zombie from PvZ 2. In PvZ 1, you get rewarded for thinking outside of the box by killing Screen No Shield Zombie in more efficient ways, mainly fume shrooms or catapults, while you're still able to defeat them with Gatling Peas and Torchwoods. In PvZ 2, however, I once got hot stuck on a level because I forgot to pick any explosives and or catapults, and a Shovel Zombie basically ended up soft locking my entire game for me since I had absolutely zero ways of dealing with it, other than to waste my power-ups, I guess. That aside, thank you Unkajira for the assets, as well as the animations for this amazing new zombie. We'll now move over to level 6-4, and one thing you might have noticed by now is that this world doesn't have any 3 flag levels anymore. This was done for 2 reasons. The first one being that each night stage already does that, and the second reason is so the no sunflower challenge remains possible within the boundaries of DLC. You'll also notice a newly unlocked plant, which is Blood Orange, and it's based off of an actual Blood Orange. Yeah, I know, big shocker. In this mod, this is a 75 cost plant with a very slow recharge, identical to a Cherry Bomb, and it will replace C-Star in this world. As for its abilities, it will deal half the explosive damage of a Cherry Bomb in my 3x3 area, but the drawback is that it's granting all surviving zombies affected by it the Blood Moon status effect. This means that this plant is specifically good into weaker swarms of zombies, but will suffer a lot into much stronger and beefier zombies, for example Football Zombie. This plant also has a side ability of being able to fly, which in terms means that you can place it pretty much anywhere on your lawn, and this includes water tiles as well, since it's classified under a flying plant. Thank you Lindsay Moore for his art, and thank you again Andrika for his animation. The reward for beating level 6-4 is unfinished by the time I'm recording this, but it will soon be replaced by the jukebox, which will allow you to listen to and change soundtracks which you like, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise we enter our new X5 minigame level for now in this world, and remember how lame and unbalanced the old Big Trouble Big Zombies was? Well, it got completely replaced by a more original minigame now. Let me introduce to you Garlic Stakeout, a minigame heavily inspired by Whack a Zombie. Remember how I said Garlic was one of the main weaknesses of Vampire Zombie earlier? Well, it turns out this minigame fully exploits that. You'll have a flying Garlic with infinite HP, and your goal is to navigate the plan to all upcoming Vampire Zombies by clicking on the corresponding tiles or by using your keyboard. You'll need quick reaction time and thinking here, but if things get out of hand, you'll still be able to use one of your blood oranges the game provides to you. Remember, since this is a flying plant, you'll not need any flower pots to place this down anywhere on your lawn. This minigame especially becomes tedious to play with all the blood moon effects from happening, but overall this has been a blast to play. Thank you Johnny for coding this cool new minigame in, and thank you Unnamed for this amazing idea of a minigame. Level 6-6 rewards us with a new redesigned Lightning Read. We've done a poll on the server before, and essentially this is the same old Lightning Read we know and love, but less buggy and visually more pleasing now. Thank you Lancito Moore for his amazing new art design, and thank you Unnamed as well as Andreka for his cool new animation. This level also introduces the new Scarecrow Zombie redesign to us. Remember how boring and uninspired the old Scarecrow Zombie used to be? Basically just a dancing zombie 2.0? Well, now it's much different. Upon spawning on the board, a swarm of crows will form around the Scarecrow Zombie, and they'll take some time before they lock onto a plant and fully eat it in a swarm. This makes plants like Mortarshroom especially bad, since you'll need a high fire rate to deal with these swarms. Of course, Lightning Read will be the obvious counter here towards the crows, and yes, this is basically a recreation of the Pigeon Zombie and Lightning Read interaction from PvZ 3, so I guess that's kinda cool to see. Thank you Nkajira for the amazing new art, and thank you Andreka as well as Unnamed again for the new cool animation. With that being said, level 6-7 doesn't offer us anything new other than a visually redesigned brick hill, so let's just quickly speed through this. Level 6-8 is here, and oh boy, look at this beauty. Let's first talk about the new Vault Room. It's a 175 cost mushroom electricity plant with a fast recharge. Compared to Lightning Reed, this plant has a more limited range, but it also has a special feature. You see, this plant is able to focus all of its firepower into a singular zombie. Now, what does that mean? It's simple. Let's just say you have 4 basic zombies walking up. Well, this plant will hit all 4 basic zombies within its range, dealing 1 DPS to each one of them. However, if only one zombie is inside the Vault Room reach bubble, then we'll focus all the electricity power into this one single zombie, dealing 4 times the DPS to him. Same with 2 zombies, where it splits up the damage to 2 DPS each. This makes this plant an excellent hybrid choice for dealing with scarecrow zombies while also not sacrificing any of your high damage. Also, the animations for this plant are not finished yet, so expect more visual improvements in the near future. Thank you Nonde for its beautiful art, and thank you Andreco for animating this new plant. I'd also like to thank I'm Johnny for coding the new Lightning Reed as well as the new Vault Room. Now, let's talk about the new zombie. This is the so-called Phantom Knight zombie, and it will be replacing the Gladiantuar zombie in the adventure mode. He has a thick layer of armor which you need to penetrate, and since this zombie is essentially a ghost, he'll punch instead of eating your plants, which means that plants like Hypnoshroom, Fireshroom or even Vinard will have 0 effects on him. Once both layers of armor are peeled off, and once you've successfully defeated the zombie, he'll spawn himself in his ghost form, waiting for him to possess a zombie that comes within a 3x3 area of him. The ghost itself cannot move, and it will despawn after a certain amount of time. A possessed zombie will take only 50% of damage of all physical hits, and he'll also gain the ability to completely ignore any of your plans, meaning he'll just walk straight through your defense. This is an ability that has been quite controversial in our dev team, so you might expect a new change in the future. Also, remember that you can use Loomshroom to remove all the positive status effects from a zombie. This includes the possession status effect that essentially makes every zombie twice as strong. Wow, thank you Luminous. This masterpiece has been drawn by Inkajira and animated by Unnamed. Level 6-9 unlocks us the last plant of this world, which is Ghost Pepper from PvZ 2, which directly replaces the electric pea shooter from the adventure. There isn't too much to say here since everybody already knows what Ghost Pepper does, and one notable thing might be that this is similar to Blood Orange in a sense that it's also a flying plant, meaning it can freely be planted on your roof, on your water, and even on your unsalted lawn. Thank you Johnny as well as Andreco for this beautiful plant, and let's move on to level 610. Here's level 610, and by the time of this recording footage, this level is still unchanged, so you can expect more updates in the future. The first new minigame we'll touch on is the Art Challenge Walnut minigame, and I know what a lot of you must be thinking right now. Yes, this minigame actually isn't that new, and instead it just got reworked. But first, I'd like to show you guys the new stats tab you can access by holding down your tab button. It will display different stats to you, for example, your total playtime, your total deaths, or even how many zombies you've eliminated on this account. Let us continue with the minigame. Its new minigame name will be the Great Wall of Nuts, and please don't make any memes out of that. Alright, gameplay wise, it really didn't change all too much, but instead we've added new visuals, something that was scrapped and cancelled from the original PvZ 1. You see, Plants vs Zombies 1 always had unused code for scrap and cancel minigames. You used to be able to only access them in the so-called limo page, which was only possible through cheats back in the day. One of those cancel minigames was the so-called Art Challenge Walnut, and in its early development it was supposed to have 2 eye tiles in the minigame, similar to the ones we have right now. This was also the exact reason why you could never place any plants there, which always confused me as a kid, but I guess it kinda makes sense now. Another funny thing is that these eyes will follow your cursor. Why it got cancelled you might ask? Well, I don't know. Maybe they were running low on time or even resources. Thank you Drunken Cat for providing us code. The next new, or I should rather say changed minigame, is Big Trouble Big Zombies. Do you remember how trash the old version was? With pepper pulls, lightning reeds, jalapenos, chili pepper and pickled peppers? The next version was even worse. You had plants like walnuts and melon pulls and even mushroom, which made the minigame kind of a joke and boring to play. Well, now it's a lot more engaging and fun. The new plants and new conveyors will be lightning reeds, mortar shrooms, loom shrooms, blood oranges, ghost peppers and of course, flower pots. Mortar shrooms, blood oranges as well as ghost peppers don't need any flower pots to be placed on, so you already have an advantage with those instas compared to the conventional squash or cherry bomb. In addition, you have my favorite combo in this game. You see, by using a loom shroom in combination with a blood orange, you can completely cancel the negative side effects of a blood orange. Overall, this gives loom shroom a secondary use out of the obvious blood moon interruption it already has. And don't forget that loom shroom technically has a third use here, which is to stop and stun vampire zombies. Because you're low on stall plants, like ice shroom or walnuts, you'll need to strategize a lot more now in order not to be overwhelmed by the giant zombies, so good luck with that. Next up is the Garlic Stakeout again, but this time it's its minigame variant. The difference here compared to level 6.5 from earlier is that this version of the minigame will have 20 instead of 15 flags in total. And I know this doesn't sound like a big deal, but things tend to get out of control fast, with the increased vampire spawn especially at the end. Pair that up with the blood moon and the vampires constantly switching around their lanes, and you'll have a painful experience for anyone with slow fingers. The next new minigame we'll showcase is the ZomBotany 3. It not just changed its world to differentiate itself even more from ZomBotany 1, but it also has a completely new redesigned pea shooter zombie, which is just a B-shooter zombie in this world. It doesn't offer anything too interesting, since B-shooter's ability now has changed in this update. It won't attack the strongest zombie in its own lane anymore, but rather the zombie that is to the most left of its own lane, which means that it still can be used to counter digger zombies. However, because of this change, giving B-shooter zombies any ability would make minimal sense here, unless we've decided to let them target your back row plants, which might be a fun little idea. Let me know in the comments below if that is a rework you'd like to see happen to B-shooter zombie. Anyway, coming back to the minigame itself, I'd like to show you the new plantain interaction with the bushes. Yes, it's now able to reveal any zombies inside the bushes to your plants, and while this might seem broken and a cheap way to get rid of these bushes, remember that this actually doesn't get rid of them, so you still won't be able to place anything on top of the bushes, limiting your available planting space. Bushes themselves have also gained a new chart animation, which just looks beautiful. Thank you Unnamed for that, by the way. This isn't everything new though. As you might have already noticed, lawnmowers are now gone, and instead we have wood chippers here. These are the new sharp items you can buy, and instead of exploding by contact with a bush like the original lawnmowers do, these wood chippers will cut through all the bushes, removing them from your entire lane. They'll be available at the shop for 3000 coins, which is the same price you pay for your roof cleaners. Thank you Unnamed again for this cool new particle explosion from the lawnmowers. Otherwise you can beat this level by just using a typical wall plants attacker setup for ZomBotany. So let's just move on to the next minigame. The next minigame that received the change is Zombies vs Zombies, which has been moved to the night to limit your sun production, since this minigame is one of the easiest to beat by far. We might even limit the play to only have 2 columns worth of planting space for your greystones. Again, if this is something you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below. This minigame otherwise remains unchanged, so let's just move on. The next new minigame we'll attend to is Gladiantuars Revenge. This minigame, other than having received a much better soundtrack as well as AI, didn't really change all too much. I've actually lost my first game here because I didn't bother to bring any explosives. Yeah, don't do that. Bring at least a squash and you can easily defeat him with a garlic gambit setup. Plasma wood, amongst other plants, have also received a significant redesign, which you can see right here. Most of the new redesigns have been made by Milanesso, so thank you so much for that. Alright, it is time to enter the brand new minigames. Let me introduce to you Computer Malware. Why is it called that, and why does the brown coat zombie glitch out? Well, let's just find out. At first, they don't seem to do anything, but wait until you see me use the B-shooter on them. Yes, that's right. If you've ever played the PvZ TD mode before, you'll probably recognize the zombie as a black zombie variant, also known as Enderman zombie. The so-called glitch zombie will randomly glitch towards your lawn every time they take damage, so you might want to use less fast fire rate plants and use Mortar Shroom or Oak Archer instead, so they don't teleport as much by taking more damage per shot. This isn't all though. This new zombie also has a random hitbox. Now, what do I mean by that? The hitbox randomly changes at a random interval and random sizes, so you'll sometimes have zombies eating plants in front, behind, or even completely ignoring them, so they will just walk straight past them. Now, here comes my favorite part about this minigame. Check out what happens after we've completed the first flag. Yes, you saw that right. Our entire lawn gets shuffled around, and now you'll have to recover fast from this disaster. This is why you saw me plant as many sunflowers down in my early game. Keep a close eye on your economy, and start repairing your sunflowers immediately after the first crash.exe happened. If done correctly, you'll be able to recover in no time. Also, make sure to use doom shrooms if you want to clear out all the bushes, since now they can also spawn ambush zombies at the end of a level, similar to Greystone ambushes. Thank you Zooey Minecraft for creating this masterpiece of a zombie. Next up is the so-called PvZ flip minigame. I just love seeing the zombies casually chill out on your roof. Damn. This minigame is inspired by a mod made by Exter, which also sort of blew up on my channel. It seems that you guys really enjoyed this mod, so we're bringing it back in a collaboration with Exter and PvZ Flip to the DLC mod. Your objective is to prevent the zombies from leaving their house because of they're grounded, I guess. But as you can already see, or by just guessing the minigame's name, your seed packets are now flipped. These plants are completely flipped by 180 degrees. Similar to reverse repeater you get from all the Vasebreaker levels in vanilla PvZ 1, every plant is now flipped by 180 degrees. And the meta for it is pretty simple. Use garlics in combinations with repeater to form an impenetrable defense. This level has Jack-in-the-Box zombies as well as pogo zombies, which you can both counter with squash, or in the case of Jack-in-the-Box with a timed chomper, or for pogo zombies you can just use snow peas. To play around the pole vaulting zombies in this level, you'll need at least 2 garlics in 2 lanes, similar to how you'd use them in Last Stand when going for a gloom shroom or even a repeater torchwood setup. The level itself was pretty easy in general, so let's just jump to the next one. Here we have the Giga Gathering minigame. A minigame heavily inspired by the Giga mod made by YoshiCraft64 back in the day. In his mod, every zombie has been replaced by his Giga variant, and for the most part, every zombie has just gained 2 times more health, except for Catapult Zombie, which in his mod shoots spikes instead of basketballs, meaning it also dealt increased projectile damage. We have a problem though, you see? The Big Trouble Big Zombie minigame already has this feature by giving zombies 4 times more health, and simply increasing the health of every zombie by 2 times is, let's just be real, kinda boring and lame. So we thought to come up with another idea. This idea was inspired by the side ability of Giga Football Zombie in DLC, where he would be immune to all knockback damage. Every Giga variant will also be a veteran type of the base staff zombie, by gaining a new side ability in addition to what they already do. Giga Basic Zombie, for example, will gain a ton of HP after he loses his head, so it will take a very long time for him to bleed out. This will mess up your DPS output since it's able to still tank your damage after dying. This ability has been inspired by the game mechanics of the time where I beat PvZ with 12 times stronger zombies. Check out the interaction if you want. Giga Coned zombies is simply resistant to fire damage, which I unfortunately didn't show in this gameplay footage right here, but fire-based damage will have a 50% less effect on Giga Coned zombies. Giga Buckethead zombies will stun all surrounding zombies in a 3x3 area once his helmet drops, which makes for truly funny moments. Giga Pole Vaulting zombie will jump twice as wide if his jump is triggered, and Giga Gargantuar has gained a new ability exclusively for this minigame, which is to crush all the plants underneath him once he drops dead. I've removed this ability for Survival Endless to keep the old spirits of PvZ1 alive and to make the Survival Endless experience not any worse than it already is. Oh, and don't forget that the imps are now also Giga, which can be a real threat. Overall, this is one of the harder minigames in this expansion, and I wouldn't recommend using lightning reads against them, like I did here. It's just best to use any icy setup to slow these tanky zombies down and to maximize your DPS. With that being said, let's move on to the next minigame of this video. Lights Out is next, and we will just skip it here since it's first of all unfinished, and second of all it's also unchanged from the 7.5 counterpart in its adventure. Gargantuars Feast is our next new minigame, and its name's clearly been inspired by the PvZ Heroes card Gargantuars Feast. Thank you Luminous for this idea, by the way. It's heavily inspired by the Wii Smash minigame from both PvZ Brawl Mode or PvZ Unnamed and the original PvZ expansion. The gimmick of the minigame is that it exclusively spawns Gargantua variants, which includes Gargantuars, Giga Gargantuars, as well as Gladiantuars. Compared to Wii Smash from PvZ expansion, this level will spawn Gargs in lane 1, which is a game mechanic in PvZ1 that wasn't removed in expansion at the time. In addition, this minigame in the gameplay footage here is slightly unfinished. Gargantua is a bug where it creates a Gladiantuar crater every time he triggers a smash attack, and the spawn ratio is completely broken. The game spawns in way too many Gladiantuars for some reason, and Giga Gargs also spawn as frequently as Gargs. Those will be fixed by the time of the release of this update. As for the strategy, I'm using a Ice Queen Pea Starfruit setup, which I figured would be really strong against both Garg variants, but it proved to be bad against Gladiantuars. Also, having to deal with vanilla Gargs as well as Giga Gargs creating craters now added to the difficulty of this level, but again, those will be fixed for the final build. To make up for the hard difficulty of this level, the zombie will not spawn in for a very long time, similar to how Pogo Party and Bobsled Bonanza give you time to prepare your defense. If a Gladiantuar launches his axe at you, try to remove your plant on time. It's a game mechanic that will cancel a slash attack of the Gladiantuar if the plant is gone, which was made to reward skill-based gameplay and to make Gladiantuar less tedious to deal with. Use a lot of cheap explosives like potato mines and squashes for obvious reasons and you'll be set. The next new minigame is another one of my favorites. It's the so-called High Grounds minigame, and it's based off of the old and cancelled World 6 concept from the early PvZ1 prototype, which was also called Bloom and Doom back then. It uses 20 elevated tiles, which makes for a very interesting minigame map concept. Raid shooters will be blocked by the heights elevations, and zombies will drop down once they reach the lower grounds. Obviously, the meta here will be using lots of catapult plants, as they completely ignore the elevation. This minigame will feature Jack-in-the-Box zombies, lumberjacks, as well as scarecrow zombies, so I'd advise you to take some sort of electricity plant with you, since the slow fire rate of the catapults will be really bad into the Raven zombies, trust me. Thank you Liathixie for providing me the code of this minigame, and thank you Nostalgic for the amazing background art. After High Grounds comes Plants vs Plants, my absolute #1 favorite new minigame in this expansion. It will force you to play against an AI that spawns hypnotized plants to fight against you. Your objective will be to destroy 3 of the dummy walnuts, while not letting 3 of your dummy walnuts die. The AI increases its difficulty over time, and even has many different stages, including a stage where a final wave of plants is approaching. Yeah, it gets pretty abstract with this one. You're able to use Chomper to hypnotize plants, but be careful. Every time the enemy plant cycle happens, it will shovel away any of your plants that are crossing the red line. After a while, the AI will also start spawning snow peas and repeaters, as well as walnuts and cherry bombs, so good luck defending that. The meta is to use as many sunflowers as you can to increase your maximum DPS, but I was also able to beat this level multiple times with no sunflowers whatsoever, by conservatively and strategically using my plants to their fullest potential. The next minigame is called Eclipse, and the gimmick of this level is that it has a night and day cycle. Entering the day section of this level will trigger all your mushrooms to fall asleep, so it is advised to bring at least a few coffee beans as a backup. In addition, vampire zombies will be stunned by the sunlight in a newer version, similar to how they get blinded by loom shrooms. The most dangerous zombies in this minigame will be both football zombie variants, as well as catapult zombies, so I'd advise you to bring at least a few magnet shrooms and pulse shrooms for your early game. Blood Orange also makes for an excellent choice against your early game, so remember that. Thank you Liuthixie for providing me the code for the day and night cycle. The next new minigame is Plank Panic, and the gimmick is quite simple. You'll spawn with the preloaded logs, and you'll have to chew your way through victory with your pea shooters. You'll also gain shrinking violets, chart guards, and even blowers from a conveyor belt to use them for the cool and totally outdated blower prime trick from Plants vs Zombies 2. The last new minigame for today will be called Border Dispute, and it's as simple as it looks. Don't let the zombies trample your flowers is an objective straightly ripped from PvZ 2. The zombie selection, which is Digger Zombies, Balloon Zombies, and Gargantuars, make this level quite interesting. Honestly, King Cactus, or they now called Orbitus, after its redesign, works kinda perfectly here. It's not just an excellent choice versus the Balloon Zombies, but it also counters the Giga Zombies quite well. Heck, it's even good against the Imps. If you want, use some Ample Flowers in combination with Orbitus. It's actually a really broken combo. Let's talk about a new feature that will be added in the next update as well. It's a Repick Button from PvZ 2, which will basically save your last loadout and also repick it for you, skipping the plant selection itself. Thank you Melanissa for its art design, and with that out of the way, let's just explore the new puzzle levels. First up, we have Party Rocking, which will feature a bunch of dancing zombies as well as ice shrooms and hypnoshrooms. Pyromanic is one of my favorite Vasebreaker levels by far. It features the strongest zombies in the game, and you'll be given a ton of explosive power to deal with them, including Exploder Nuts, which can now be used outside of walnut bowling here. True Chain Reaction can get quite annoying with the sheer number of Jack-in-the-Box zombies and even ladder zombies in this level, and Airborne will force you to deal with pogo zombies as well as balloon zombies. But you'll not only be provided Cactus as your attacking plant here, you'll also gain access to Blover. Nom 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 forces you to strategize with your Chompers and Walnuts. Next up is Tesla's Experiment, and the gimmick here is that the game will provide you with tons of electric plants, including Lightning Reed, Magnet Shroom, as well as Volt Shroom that will need to fend off the Scarecrow zombies. Counting Stars will grant you access to Staff Roots while you need to defend against Digger zombies. Crush of the Titan not only has a new Vasebreaker type, but this phase will also always spawn a Gladiantuar, which in here will open up all the vases in a 3x3 area when doing a splash attack. Undead Tides is the first water Vasebreaker level, and here you will have to defend against dolphin zombies. Silent Mist, similar to Undead Tides, also takes place in your pool, but on top of that, you'll also need to deal with the fog. Of course, the game will provide you with Plantones, which will have two functions in this level, first of all removing the fog, and second of all revealing any vases in a 3x3 area. Let us transition over to the new iZombie levels, starting with Unfinished Sudoku. Like the name suggests, this level will feature newspaper zombies, which cost 75 to play. Also, you might have noticed the new seed bank look right here, and this was done after a community poll on the official Seeds Discord server. Thank you Andreka for recreating this new seed bank redesign. The next iZombie level will be Cornucopia, which is not to be confused with the card from Plants vs Zombies Heroes. This level will force you to face off against cabbage poles, kernel poles, potato mines, sunflowers, as well as lightning reeds. You know, the typical stuff you'd find in a farm. As a new zombie for this level, you'll be provided with a 225 cost Scarecrow zombie, which also kind of fits in the farm setting if you really think about it. Next up is Cold Shoulder. You'll be given Icebug Zombie, which is a high health zombie, which is also weak to fire damage, where it's able to freeze all plants in a 3x3 area, but keep in mind that the freezing only works if there's no adjacent fire plant near the target freeze plant. Icebug Zombie will cost 275 sun in this minigame, but with almost twice the health of a bucketed zombie, it will be quite worth your money. The Icebug Zombie is part of the early collaboration between our DLC mod and the expanded and enhanced mod by Reduku. Yellow Zombarine is the next new iZombie level, and here we have access to the Snorkel Zombie, which can only be placed in a water tile for the price of 75 sun. Also, keep in mind that Football Zombie can't swim in the pool now when placed in the water. Next up is iZombos, and this level is actually inspired by two of my most viewed videos on my channel, which are the Zombos and iZombie videos. The gimmick is to save up enough sun, which is 1000 in this case, for your Zombos. The level itself isn't meant to be taken too seriously, as one Zombos already is enough overkill for the entire level. Colosseum's Champion will be next up, and as you can see right here, it will allow you to use Gladiantuar for 600 sun. Since Gladiantuar possesses the 3x3 special splash attack, it won't just shred through 3 lanes, but it also is able to smash 3 brains at a time, saving you the need to clear up the lanes with cheap zombies. Remember that Magnetrum can affect your Gladiantuar, so try to either remove the Magnetrum first or simply use Gladiantuar on a lane with no squash. Necrolation is the name of the next iZombie level, and the level grants us access to Dolphin Zombie, which only costs 100 sun here. The Dolphin Zombies will spawn in already mounted, meaning they'll just speed through your defense. Yeah, just make sure that you dodge the Tango Kelps here. Here's 3-point Shot, which features Catapult Zombies. With 175 sun, he is moderately expensive, but because of how strong Catapult Zombies are, when combined with a Meat Shield in its same lane, then it's worth the price. Keep an eye on the Umbrella leaves here though. Next up is Deadwood Sap, a Torchwood Oak Archer level that gives you access to Lumberjack Zombie for 175 sun. Yeah, I think you can already see the theme here. In case this wasn't too obvious for you, this level spawns into wood stump plants, while Lumberjack also leaves a wood log gridiron on the board. Once his special health condition is triggered. The last new iZombie level we'll feature in this video will be Better Off Dead. This is the first iZombie level that doesn't introduce a new zombie to us, but instead it's featuring most of the new zombies from the previous levels. It takes place in Pool, and here you need to be very careful not to waste a zombie against a hypnotized zombie from the Hypnoshrooms. Huge special thanks to Luminous, who has extensively analyzed and worked on the DLC puzzles, as well as the entire PvZ DLC GitHub team for putting in so much work and passion into these puzzles. You guys are truly awesome. Let's discuss the new Hardmode Rework now. To make playing on hard mode more rewarding, we've decided to add new diamond trophies for completing minigames, puzzles, or even survival levels on hard mode. Once you've unlocked the diamond trophy on every single minigame, puzzle, and survival map, you'll not only unlock the new diamond sunflower trophy on your main menu, but you will also unlock a brand new shop exclusive plant in the Crazy Dave shop, which will cost 50,000 coins. This makes the plant by far the rarest and most expensive plant in the game. Now, what does it do? I mean, for all this hard work, this surely must be super rewarding. Well, I've done a YouTube shot for the plant a little while ago, and to sum it up, Shooting Star is a 325 cost plant and the first dual upgrade plant in the game, meaning this can be planted on top of a starfruit as well as a sea star. Because Shooting Star is a flying plant, it will also be able to be placed in the water without lily pads when picking sea star, but sadly you can't place it on the roof or on unsorted tiles because of the plant's limitations of starfruit and sea star, which you need as a base to upgrade your plant on. Shooting Star, similar to its Plants vs Zombies Heroes counterpart, which this plant obviously is based off of, will target and fire all lanes simultaneously. It will launch burning meteor projectiles from the sky, which makes it have all the advantages of catapult plants, meaning immunity to roof slopes or high ground slopes, as well as more efficient damage towards newspaper zombies, ladder zombies, green no shield zombies, as well as snorkel zombies when submerged. Thank you Nonday for its amazing design, and thank you Unliathixie for providing me the code for Shooting Star. Also, here's a quick sneak peek we did on our server on the new redesign of Giga Football Zombie. Thank you Milanessa for creating this amazing art. Let's talk about the new challenges section. You'll unlock the second main menu page of the new expansion by reaching World 7, and here you will also find the new challenger levels. Compared to the traditional minigames, these levels will offer a challenge to all of you tryhard PvZ players out there. As of now, we only have 4 challenges for you, so let's begin with the first one. That being the Sunflowerless challenge. The gimmick of this challenge is quite easy and obvious. You'll have to survive 4 flags with Gigagogs, Gogs, Zambonis as well as catapult zombies while not having access to any sun-producing plants. The difficulty here obviously comes from the increased zombie density, especially at the end of the level. I'm using cattails here, which has historically been extremely effective in any non-sunflower challenge, and in all honesty, this level has been a bit too easy for me when I playtested it in this recording, so we might even increase the number of flags in this minigame all the way up to 6. Fun fact, my first 2 viral PvZ1 videos were when I reached flag 50 as well as flag 100 in survival endless with no sunflowers, so this challenge holds a special place in my heart. Next up is the Minimalist challenge. This level pre-picks the necessary plants for you, so you can have the plants that is necessary for this solution. This level is heavily based off of the Minimalist survival endless setup that has been super popular on Bilibili ever since it was discovered. Bilibili, in case you didn't know, is the Chinese YouTube equivalency, since YouTube is banned in China. In order to beat this level, you'll need to follow a specific sequence, which goes as follows. Always use the mushrooms in rows 2 and 5 to stall the Gigagogs from crushing your Gloomshrooms, and to play around the Jack-in-the-Box explosion zombies, we will need to make use of the Jack suppression tactic, which is to strategically wait until the Jack enters the Gloomshroom range and then use our timed ice shrooms accordingly. If done correctly, the Jack-in-the-Box explosion zombies will have a 0% chance at destroying any of your Gloomshrooms, since they will die on lanes 2 and 5 to the Gloomshrooms, while they will always explode in lanes 1 and 6 before reaching your Gloomshrooms. Once the football zombie gets too close to your defense, activate a Doomshroom, and the next wave needs to be stalled with an ice shroom again. And in the second cycle, since our Doomshroom is on a recharge delay, we'll simply simulate a Doomshroom explosion by using a cherry bomb, a squash, and a jalapeno at the same time. Repeat the cycle as many times as you need in order to beat this level, while you also pay close attention to your pumpkins, and you should be golden. The next level to beat is the 1 column challenge, and it's quite simple. You'll need to survive 3 flags against the zombies with just 1 column alone. If you followed the 1 column series from RCCH, then you'll be quite familiar with the solution of this level, which is to use 2 Gloomshrooms, 2 twin sunflowers, as well as a magnet shroom to deal with the massive zombie density. Alternatively, you could also probably use the water pot and cattail setup, but I won't be focusing on that. Also, I'm using jalapenos here rather than umbrella leaves to counter the catapult zombies, as you're lacking the necessary DPS to make use out of your umbrella leaves. The catapult zombies would simply unload their baskets and then start crushing down your plants. The last challenge for today will be the Plantless challenge. Similar to the Minimalist setup, this has been heavily inspired and based off of the Chinese Plantless challenge in Survival Endless, and it goes like this. You'll be thrown on flag 2000 with absolutely no setup, but you have essentially infinite sun. How do you survive for 2 flags without dying to the empty field? Turns out, there's yet another solution for this, which is to start placing down your tall nuts in column 1, your star fruits in columns 2 and 3, and your melon pulls in columns 4 and 5. The game will pre-preg your necessary plans for this solution for you again, and while you slowly build up your defense, you'll be forced to use a double ice shroom doomshroom cycle again. But this time, it's a lot more dangerous. One mistake is all it takes to completely lose in this level. Literally. My first attempt was lost because I misplaced a single ice shroom, which resulted into me losing badly. Also, you'll need to be much more careful now when going for your doomshroom cherry bomb or jalapeno cycles against the jack-in-the-box zombies, since they could blow up at any time. Similar to the ice shroom, one missed doomshroom will end up losing you the game. If you still struggle with this challenge, then I suggest you go watch Scaffold's video on how he beats it and what cycle or solution he uses for it. Normally I'd end the video right here, but today I got a special guest from another YouTuber, which is called Captain Flare. He's a fellow PvZ DLC YouTuber and he agreed to play against me for this video, but I unfortunately forgot to record the first part of my session, and on the second part I didn't even record my own voice, so instead I'll just narrate the game and explain to you what happened, as well as the new changes to the new versus mode 2.5. First of all, you'll realize that we have 7 new maps now, including a legacy mode, which is a 1-to-1 replica of the console version versus mode we all grew up with. You can also have customizable key bindings now for each player. In addition, you're also able to give yourselves usernames now, and it will even track your score in the bottom left. You can also play with 2 keyboards now, meaning nobody is forced to use the mouse anymore. With the technicalities out of the way, let's just move on to the first game of this video. The first game takes place on the new pool map, and the gimmick here is quite simple. You spawn up with 6 extra lily pads, and every minute, which you can track in the bottom middle, an entire pool of lily pads will spawn. I guess Captain Flare was going for an early game rush with the snorkel zombie build. Me totally underestimating him, and me picking a meep setup with Bee-Shooter, Gravebuster, and Spikeweed meant I was losing to him pretty badly. I also wasn't able to keep up with this constant zombie pressure, and to make matters even worse, I had no proper counter to the new and improved scarecrow zombies, so I eventually ran out of resources. Game number 2 takes place in a new forest map. The gimmick here is that planting space for both the zombie player and the plant player is more limited now, and of course you'll get less sun from the sky. After 5 minutes, once sudden death happens, all the bushes will despawn. Also, sudden death in the non-legacy game modes is changed from the vanilla sudden death, and now only increases the game speed on both sides by 100%. This was made to remove the 80% win rate that plants have in the original sudden death, since OG sudden death spawns double the sun from the sky and decreases the recharge of all plants and zombies by 66%, which just makes explosive plants like cherry bombs and squashes way too good. I chose a hyper-aggressive setup here with a vampire backup dance with basic rush, and it proved to be very effective against Captain Flare's 3-peater build, which is even worse now because you only gain 15 sun from the sky and it's super expensive. Game 3 took place in the legacy game mode, in which I was trying to replicate the famous garlic gambit setup, which also used to be my main setup in the OG versus mode. With no proper counters like Gargantuars, Zombonis, dancers, or even digger zombies, I was able to easily build up my economy into spamming a bunch of 3-peters on the board. Seriously guys, don't pick too many weak non-effect zombies into garlic. Game 4 was on the roof, where Poultrum is changed into being a pushroom by having only half its range but twice the fire rate of a pushroom. In this game, I was going for a defensive loadout by spamming a bunch of flag zombies into Zombot, and Captain Flare was smart enough to exploit my weakness with counterpicking lightning reeds and magnet shrooms, which surprisingly turned out to be very effective against flag zombie spams. The magnet shroom was just great at dealing with the bucket heads from the wave, while lightning reed itself was just very efficient at dealing with my high density. Game 5 happened on Fog, and I'm sure you can already guess the gimmick of this game mode. In addition to all pool stats, you'll also get no brains from the sky, and also have the fog in the middle of your screen, making for some interesting ambush opportunities when not paying enough attention. Also, since night levels are now a thing, I had to add in a mechanic that prevents players from being hard stuck in a level with no sun producers and 0 sun. So I added in a new game mechanic that spawns in 5 pea shooters or cabbage poles, depending on the stage, in the first column after the first 10 minutes of the match. After that, the pea shooters or cabbage poles will just respawn every minute. This now means that the zombie player is pressured into winning in the first 10 minutes or suffer the consequences if the attack has failed. This also now means that the plant player isn't forced anymore to bring any long-range attackers, since there's a viable strategy into surviving the full 10 minutes now. This game I kinda lost to Pogo Zombie because, oh well. Turns out Corp Cannon kinda sucks at night with limited sun resources. Game 6 took place at night, and in this map, 5 gray zones will spawn at the beginning of the level, and will also be removed once sudden death happens. You'll also have noticed that every mushroom costs 25 sun more now in night stages, since obviously you don't need to use a coffee bean anymore. Captain Flare did a fatal mistake of not picking picking any explosive plants, which enabled me to counterpick with balloon zombies, so I was essentially able to force him into picking cactus. It's also good to note that I was using the bonies to render his hypnoshrooms kinda useless. And that was game 6. Game 7 happened in a classic day map. This time Captain Flare went for a very aggressive build, and I was easily able to punish that with my lightning reads. He also picked Vampire Zombie early on, which gave me the opportunity to counterpick him with a Golly, so you should always think about picking a Vampire Zombies at the very end. Game 8 happened in Night Roof, and the only gimmick here so far is that Flag Zombie will also trigger a Bloodmoon effect when played. In addition, his cost will definitely receive a nerf in this game mode, since triggering a Bloodmoon for free is definitely way too broken. And this map is already zombie-sided, so yeah, I mean gameplay-wise, it speaks for itself. Game 9 took place in Pool again, and this is the game where Captain Flare decided to go with the Cattail in order to counter my Balloon Zombie, which, I'm gonna be honest, was pretty smart. Cattail however cost 50 Sun more in Pool and Fog, to account for the fact that you don't need to pick any water pot or lily pads. I was exploiting the fact that Cattail was super expensive, so I was kinda pressuring Captain Flare with streaming Giga Gargantuars and Giga Football Zombies, while I was able to save up for my Giga Gladiantuar boss from the previous minigame. I mean, just look at that. Game 10, which was also the last game, took place in Day, and in here I've decided to take a risk by going for the Orbiter setup. Thankfully for me, Captain Flare didn't pick any basic zombies, and therefore his early game was severely damaged. Overall, these were some very fun games, and thank you so much to Captain Flare for playing this new early access versus my 2.5 with me. I'd like to redo a session like this at some point, with no technical errors, and with proper commentary. Make sure to check out his channel, he does a lot of Garden Warfare 2 as well as PvZ DLC content. This is gonna be all for today. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you so much BinPvZ, Baldy145, NonDayZ, Bionic Agron, as well as Samen for being our Bill of channel members and for the continued support. You people are truly amazing. If you haven't seen the World 7 update video, then I will suggest you go watch it now. It would mean a world to me if you could give this video a like and a sub, and a massive shoutouts to the DLC GitHub team.
Okay, when I said I was gonna be evil, I didn't mean that bad. I didn't mean that evil. And you've got full grades, I did not look at the other side of the screen. Uh-oh. Out of interest of time, I think I will accept, I will humbly accept defeat. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a good one.